What is going on, everybody, and welcome on in. Hope you're doing well. It is Wednesday, October 6th. It is 8:30 or just before 8:30 Eastern time. So I figured we'd do this stream tonight because Sunday night I was not around, and this coming Sunday again, I'm not going to be around again. So I figure we do this midweek. We usually do a live in the morning, but I figure we do it at night just so that more people can get in because the morning streams during the week, I enjoy them, and I figure I'm going to keep doing them. But I noticed that a lot less people are able to join, because it's 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So we're gonna do this tonight, next week as well, and then we'll go from there and we'll see how it plays out. But we have a lot of updates to talk about, market-wise, sentiment shifts. Webull just crashed on me. Let me just go back to this guy really quick. Market-wise, sentiment shifts, and then Bitcoin. I mean, we really are noticing there's a lot of stuff going on, so we got to talk about all that stuff. I'll pull up a big chart. Just because, actually, let me go back to this. It'll be easier to see the price points if I go back to this. So let's start off with SPY, talk about how SPY is doing. And then let me pull up on my phone, let me get the chat so I can see the chat. I have a bunch of stocks that I am looking at personally myself. So I want to pull up SPY, talk about how the overall market is setting up. I do think it was a pretty strong close to the end of the day today, which is good. It's good to see. But does that mean that tomorrow is going to be an update? No, not necessarily. And then we'll look at Bitcoin because we saw a pretty substantial, move in Bitcoin because now Bitcoin has essentially distanced itself from the S&P. And I think not that they were direct correlated, asset classes, but they were to a degree. Big pullbacks on SPY, big pullbacks on Bitcoin. That's what we saw. And now we're not seeing that, or at least we're not seeing in this chop fest or this slow bleed in the overall market the past month. It really hasn't been that drastic of a drawdown. If you look at UVXY, it's not down that bad. The biggest UVXY, spike happened here on the 20th, and then that kind of calmed down and recovered. But let's draw this line here. Let's draw a line talking about the downtrend here. So we got to get back up on SPY. We're going to need to make a move up over, looks like right now, up over like this 438, 439 area. Then we got some really good resistance up here at the 50 SMA, which will be here at this 442, 443. And then 445 was where we could not break above when we tried to reclaim the 50 SMA back at the beginning or back at the end of September. So those are key areas to watch going forward on SPY, on the S&P. But pretty strong day. I mean, take a look at this day. We came down. It looked like it was going to be a red day. It was. And then we recovered, and pushed up and ended up closing almost 0.5% in the green. And the after hours closed up here about 0.25% in the green. So it looks like a very bullish engulfing type of candlestick pattern here, almost in a sense. And it looks like we could be setting up this chart setup right now. If I had to make a guess on tomorrow, I would imagine we open higher. What happens after that? Who knows? But I'd imagine we at least open higher, potentially testing up here towards this 438, 439 level on SPY, and that could be an area that we find resistance yet again. We got some really good support here in the mid to upper 420, so 427-ish is an area that we've been holding up quite well, so we can draw a little bit of a trend line right here. Roughly, I would say something like this is what you're looking at, roughly. The bodies are holding up really nicely here at 428, and so we will see. We'll see how this plays out. That said, let's see. I want to dive deeper into Bitcoin now. So that's SPY. This is the daily chart on SPY. Now, what does BTC look like? Bitcoin. Here we go. That's not the same. It's not. So if you look at the Bitcoin chart, take a look. This is September. So what we saw was Bitcoin pulling back. We can pull up both charts here because it's probably easy to see. Let's pull it up. Let's do a double side-by-side view and pull up SPY so we can see kind of the correlation here really nicely. I'm going to have to sort this over here by the daily, and then we're good. So it's not going to be the exact same. Let me see if I can adjust the time frame. It's pretty close. Pretty close. Okay, so September begins on the left-hand side, and we see the market on the right here pulling back, right? Downtrending, pulling back. It is what it is, okay? Now look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin pulling back. It had a couple big drawdowns. Take a look at the 19th. 19th going into the 20th. That was when we had a big gap down on SPY. Bitcoin had a pretty big drawdown. Then it consolidated. And now While we're kind of consolidating the past week or so here on SPY, Bitcoin has just sprung right back up and blown back up over the highs that we saw at the beginning of September, which were 53,000. So Bitcoin has now hit a high today of 55.7. I'm going to go back to the one chart here. $55,768.80 is the high on Bitcoin. Guys, if you take a step back here on this chart too, we're very close to all-time highs. We are, now this is a pretty, substantial spike, but we're within striking distance of all-time highs here on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin can be up here to over 60K in no time, and I wouldn't be surprised. So this is going to be some significant resistance here as we get up into the upper 50s to lower 60s on Bitcoin. So yeah, it did make a pretty substantial move. Take a look at this. From the lows or from the bounce that we saw around 42.5, Bitcoin has, popped 30%, in a matter of a week. So it can make that move, and it's done it before. But that's on watch. So that leads us into now kind of what to watch going forward. There's a lot of stocks that I also want to touch on now that we've noticed not only, right, are, SPY consolidating, pulling back, but we're noticing a lot of small caps are still just fading off, consolidating, doing their thing. There's actually a lot of even crypto-related stocks that had made previous runs when crypto was hot. When Bitcoin was up over 50K, a lot of these stocks were way higher. Now, of course, that comes with the crazy, period of time, retail traders and the crazy period of time that we saw at the end of 2020, early 2021. Yes. But that said, we are now setting up in a period where we have a lot of stocks that are oversold with Bitcoin pushing and with potentially a little bit of a rebound play on SPY. They could be setting up for some good bounces. And some of those stocks that I do want to point out that have made some nice moves, but I want to point out some other ones. Let's dive into some of those. So one of those stocks that I think is quite interesting, small cap, SOS. I'm not in SOS, but look at this chart. Look at this chart. This is a stock that went nuts, absolutely nuts, beginning to end of February. Now it has come down substantially and is now held up $2. So $2 is your support here in SOS. And, we're sitting at 215. So this could be worth a swing trade idea for a move. Would not be surprised if we get a move. If you do the math here, guys, on a move from where we're at right now up to $3, that chart-wise doesn't look like much. That's 40%. So there is quite the range on some of these stocks if they get hit. That's a big if, because the sentiment here it hasn't changed. If you look at SPY, right? SPY has been pushing up, and we've been kind of noticing the same exact thing across the board. So here's SPY, right? Ever since, go back to early this year, right? We pushed higher and higher and higher, and it was super weird because as SPY went up, a lot of small caps just kind of faded on off, and it was mid to large caps. Those were the stocks that you were kind of want to be focusing on, and that's it. Now we're noticing is that IWM, kind of the small cap index, has still consolidated since that time. It's just still been in this consolidation pattern. But we're tightening up, okay? So when I say we're tightening up, let me get rid of this box down here so you can kind of see what I mean. We are starting to see slowly but surely these higher lows being put in really ever since July. These higher lows being put in right now. So bottom support based on this trend was today kind of touched down there, down towards this 216, 217 level on IWM. And we see that we have lower highs developing ever since, looks like end of August. You can kind of attach some of these highs right here. And so we're setting up where IWM has started to really consolidate and it's starting to tighten the range. And what you generally see with these types of patterns is you see a tightening of a range and then a breakout up or down. So now one would believe, one would argue, one would think that if the market recovers, if SPY doesn't need to recover to all-time highs, but if it starts grinding back on up, consolidates and starts grinding back up into the 430s, 440s, even low 450s by the end of the year, even the beginning of next year, right? Not even saying we have to hit all-time highs. This could be a very interesting setup on IWM, which would then signal a lot of potential small cap, plays for breakout moves or for bigger moves off their bottoms. I think that's the safer bet. I'm not saying that I want to be buying these breakouts. I'm not a big fan of buying breakouts. I'm more of a fan of looking at the overall sentiment, the overall indice, the overall ETF that models small caps here says, okay, this is looking pretty solid. It's breaking out. It's got momentum. Now, what can I find that is oversold, that is undervalued potentially, that has cash, that has catalyst? That's where my eyes start to go. LGHL is an interesting one because it has been already pushing on up. LGHL is one of those stocks like SOS, I want to say, where it kind of had this period of time where it just was dead. And now LGHL has only started moving up here in October, but LGHL has already made almost about 100% move. It's strong, but look at this. It's already made a move of 70+%. So I don't think this is a terrible play, and I think there certainly could be more here. But for me, risk reward wise, I would be more of a fan of the SOS chart than the LGHL chart. Now, could LGHL make a move, go, 250? Can it go to 3-4? Sure. It could go up there and make another, 75% move from where it's at right now and really squeeze. Yeah, it certainly could. And you're noticing too on this chart, take a look at the 1 hour chart. This has not allowed shorts to get out. So we talk about short squeezes all the time. Everyone wants to talk about short squeeze and everyone wants to get all excited about that stuff. And that's great. The only thing that I'll say is that you'll see this thing continue. If LGHL continues to hold up here, now holds up over 2. We had a dip here earlier today, when the market opened, kind of like your opening panic sell dip, and then it recovered quick. If it keeps holding up and doesn't pull back substantially, when I say pull back substantially, we need like a 20% pullback. So we got to get a pullback at least down to like 175. If LGHL can't do that, anyone who is shorting this thing now, there probably are people who were shorting this thing this whole way down and made money, right? Did well. Anyone shorting it now, right, has yet to be let out of a trade unless they're covering and adding to that buying volume. And when I say let out of a trade, I mean is you have the ability to trim your position or to take profits on your short, and then you have some more buying power or some more power to go ahead and short further if it pushes up higher again, which can help hold it back. But if it keeps pushing higher lows, holding key levels and going for more, where do shorts get out? Their only option is to add to their short, put themselves in a bigger, bad position and hope that it pulls back so they can take some profits or get their average higher, right? Or they got to cover and get out. So that's where the short squeezes really come into play. And that's where I think that's really the basis of how this stuff really works when you dive a little bit deeper. So LGHL certainly could keep going. But that said, I think there's better risk reward plays out there. As long as it holds over 2, I think it's a momentum-based play here. I think it has room to go, and if Bitcoin pushes up, they've had ties in the past. I haven't been up to date exactly on what they got going on, but it's been an interesting one, and it's been a popular one. At least it was in months past. So let's see. Chart-wise, we're in the first uptrend. Yeah, we are. We definitely are. I will say though, my only caution with this uptrend here is that it's been 4 days. And they've been, it's a pretty violent uptrend in 4 days. If we kind of had a move over the past 4 days of like 25, 30%, that's kind of a more sustainable, I would say, uptrend. This is kind of more of a pop, pretty big pop, a 70% move. It's a pretty substantial move off the bottom. And I think there's going to be a lot of these kind of quiet movers like this. LGHL, it's been moving, but I haven't seen a ton of attention on it, right? I haven't seen a ton of people talking like, oh, LGHL is this. I'm going to, short squeeze, I'm going to 350 and this and that. A lot of people have it seems like a quiet, mover. Then you have SOS, which I was talking about before. Chart looks kind of similar to LGHL, not the same, but kind of similar to LGHL. And SOS has support at $2. And like we said, if this makes that move of 50% off its bottom, that puts you at $3 over $3.25. This could be up in that range in no time with Bitcoin holding up, and next thing you know, right, you're off a quiet trade here that no one's talking about SOS right now. While no one's paying attention, you're up 50%, you're scaling out, you leave some on for the ride, and if it goes higher, you at least have a piece of your position on, and you can ride that out and take some profits. So this is the time. I know it's been tough because a lot of people have been kind of getting discouraged because their stocks keep going down or it gets quiet, it gets boring. But I have noticed that a lot of stocks now have come down closer and closer to cash value, a lot of these small caps. When I say cash value, I'm talking about their market cap versus their cash position on their balance sheet as of the last earnings report or whatever, right? The closer they get to that level, the less downside that they see. And so that's what I've been noticing. Like a lot of stocks, I at least on my list or at least on my positions, they're coming down and they're starting to kind of hold up despite the market being around. Like, okay, in months past, the market's this red. I mean, we're seeing panic selling across the board in these small caps, but they're holding up at that level. So those are the ones that I personally like the most, especially in the biotech sector. And so those are super, volatile plays, but that's where you're starting to get down to a pretty good value, at least in terms of, risk reward on, fundamentally, not even talking chart wise, talking fundamentals. Pixie's on my list. So I got a list right here of about 15 stocks, and Pixie is on that list. So Pixie has come down. We have the thing with Pixie though is today, I was actually looking at it today, it hit $1. So what I kind of have been, one of the things I've been watching too lately is I've been noticing these kind of final pulls, like these final pulls, and then it bounces. So Pixie, if it can't hold $1, my potential speculation behind it would be maybe this thing pulls down hard, down into like the low 90s or even the 80s, and it rebounds right back up. That could be a really good ad zone on Pixie. So that's personally how I play it. This is a chart that looks gross right now. It just does. If you take a look at what's going on right now, this thing has been selling off. And go back to last year. Sold off. And we bottomed out on Pixie last year around the end of October. So we could be kind of timing it up similar to that where, again, guys, you have to look back to this chart, right? It bottomed out at $2 last October. That was the level. So if you had grabbed something down here as it started to hold $2, and it starts to hold that level, let's say you grab it at $2.15. Within a couple of weeks, you had opportunities to sell this thing up over 30+%. That's beautiful. And then if you held it longer, you could have got back in and played it even more for a 100% move. So I think that the narrative right now is the final pulls on a lot of these stocks. You're seeing a lot of these stocks that are getting their final pulls, manipulation, whatever you want to call it, right? And they're getting that final pull. They're the institutions and whoever the big money is loading up their last chunk of shares while they have an opportunity now super low. They're just literally transferring money to the people who are not patient, the impatient, the whole Warren Buffett quote, right? We can use that, I guess, even though I wouldn't say, Warren Buffett penny stocks line up. But Warren Buffett quote, the transfer of money here from the patient or from the impatient to the patient, right? So they don't care. I mean, the way that I'm playing a lot of my stuff right now, I don't care about what happens in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah, I come on to these videos and I show the portfolio every single week, and it's been slightly green the past couple of weeks. It's been nice, I guess, but it's been choppy the past couple of months. I still don't really care about showing a red week just to be like, oh, look at me, I can't show red, I got to show green, look at me. I don't care about that. I'm looking at the next couple of weeks, a couple of months on the time frame for some of these penny stocks. That's kind of how I swing trade. Not everyone has different tolerance levels and everything. I think it's a better way to go about it. You're putting yourself in a much better risk reward situation. That's how I see it. I think it's the best way to go about it. Okay. FL. Ghost walked by. That's my girlfriend. She just came back. Foot Locker. This is coming down. Here's the thing. This is getting interesting because it's like, okay, where is it going to bounce? So it tried to. It's an interesting chart. It's at some point this is gonna reverse, right? So let's see if we can draw a little bit of a wedge on this thing. The descending wedge. So here you go. Here's the chart on this guy. So this thing opens up and gets up over 46.50 tomorrow. Bullish. I think you can get a move to $50. So it needs to get that level. If not, I would not want to hold this thing down below the lows of today, which were down around 45. Looks like 44.91. I would not want to hold it back below 45. So if this thing can get up tomorrow over 46.50, market's, not super red or market's somewhat stable, you can probably get a move to $50 fairly fast. There could be option play, or that could just be, even just shares, depending on how you want to play things. But there's your kind of descending wedge. It's a pretty sharp downtrend, or a pretty sharp one, but this could be a nice breakout. Sometimes these ones lead to some pretty big breakouts back to the upside, or it could be a slower mover to kind of consolidate and slowly kind of curl itself back on up. Okay, so BTBT So now we're talking about some of the Bitcoin plays, right? We talked about Bitcoin at the beginning. BTBT, this is an interesting one. Look at how it's kind of recovered really nice off of these lows downward. It came sub 7, actually. It came sub 7. Now it recovered. Now it's at the 50 SMA. Here's a gap. So I'll be watching this tomorrow on BTBT. Here's a gap fill down to 1050. If it comes down to 1050, fills this gap back down. Why is that? Because from the open or from the close on, was that Monday? Tuesday going into Wednesday. We closed here at this 1036 roughly, and then we opened up today up over 1150, and then slowly kind of pulled back a little bit into the close. So you want to see this gap fill hold 1050 and then a bounce from there. If we get that, that's good. That's where I would expect it to bounce and a push. But you need the sentiment right now is not crazy runners across the board in crypto. It just isn't. That's not the sentiment right now. It just is not. So if Bitcoin stalls or if Bitcoin pulls back, Bitcoin can certainly still go to all-time highs by the end of the year. But if Bitcoin goes nice and steady and slow, you're going to have these kind of pushes and then these pullbacks. And they could be some bigger pullbacks on these stocks, even though the overall trend may be up. So personally, right, I would be looking down here under 11 for an additional, for a spot to add into BTBT. But that said, this thing has range. It's a prior runner, prior short squeezer. This thing can go. So I don't think that's a terrible idea. Now, where's one of the other ones that I was looking at? There's HUT. Let's pull it up. Hut 8 mining. This had a decent day and then it got rejected. So HUT's got some significant resistance here around $11. It got up there last time, the beginning of September, when Bitcoin was pushing that 53,000. It got to 1130, pulled back. It needs to clear up over 11, hold over 11, and then hold over 1130. Now, holding over 10 right now is good, but it needs to get that next level of holding over 11 for that next move. Then we could see 13, and then we could see a breakout 15 plus potentially on HUT. The other one that I want to add to your watch list is PBTS, if I recall, right? Power Bridge Technologies. This one is super interesting. Let me go back in here. Let's go to FinViz really quick. PBTS. If I go to PBTS, what do we got? So this chart, now this is FinViz's chart. We'll look at ours in a second to get a better view. We have a 7 million float. We have a 43% short float. Okay. So, I mean, here's what I don't understand. I just fundamentally understand this stuff. I do not understand why there would be more shorts in this stock right now. I don't understand. Why would there be shorts here while it's bought? If it spiked up, then I can understand the short float. But why here at the bottom? Why? It's at support. Could it slowly bleed out over the next couple of months if it just doesn't do anything and Bitcoin pulls back? Yeah. But why am I saying Bitcoin? Well, look at this. They have some substantial Bitcoin news. So back in August, if you go back to August right here, the 25th, they popped from the low ones, 125, up to they popped over $1, almost 100% move. And here it is. They signed a purchase agreement for 5,600 Bitcoin and Ethereum mining machines. So they're right there. They are right there in that space. So this is a stock that I think is very interesting because, again, it's a bottomed out play. It's quiet. No one's on it. High short percentage, low float. This is a quiet play that could easily make a move, $1.50 to $2, and no one's even talking about it yet. Then it can get caught up and everyone's like, oh, this is going to be a great short squeeze candidate. And at that point, you're already selling you're selling your shares off to somebody else and let them deal with the risk of the downside if Bitcoin pulls back or offerings or all that stuff that come with these penny stocks. But we're getting in early. The only problem here is the China stock, and Chinese stocks haven't been doing too well as of late. A lot of fear around China and all that stuff. So I understand the downside there as well. But this seems like a good risk reward. If it falls under 1, it's a cut for me. But that's an idea, I think. I think it's worth noting. There's PBTS. What else is on my list? While things get quiet, guys, it's noticing while things get quiet. So look at this one. EYEG, not a Bitcoin play, but it's another penny stock that's at the trend line. Now, this trend line may not hold up. Under $2, under 190, I like it. This one just last week was pushing up here over 225, over 235 actually. This one is a stock that had just done an offering. They've got multiple catalysts lined up into quarter 4. So we got catalysts across the board, and they're sitting here under 2. I think this is an easy play back to 2, back to 225, and potentially up towards like $3 on a nice positive news release. So this is another one of those plays where it's got catalysts upcoming and a move from under 2, not saying you're going to hold for the entire move, but if we get a pop to 3, that's 65%. There's a lot of range on these charts. And I know it might not seem like it when these things are kind of quiet or when things are just slowly kind of trickling down 1, 2, 5% per day, right? But that's showing you that there's lots of range here on these charts. And if you guys don't think big money wants to get involved, they're going to get involved. Come the end of the year, you got to meet your quotas, got to hit your numbers, they're going to get involved. Come the beginning of the year, you want to get off to a good start, they're going to be involved. That's kind of why we see the crazy moves going into the end of the year and going into the beginning of the year across a lot of small caps, because a lot of the big money, it's easy to manipulate, right? These things. And so it's easier to hit your quotas if you can manipulate this stuff and there's a lot more attention. These things are hot. You can hit your quotas, you can hit your returns, you can hit your levels, you can hit your numbers a lot easier. And so you can get off to a really good start and finish off on a good note. So that's kind of the idea. So that's what I'll be watching, right, going forward across the board with some of these penny stocks and small caps is I'm expecting a nice move in the next couple of months in this final, fourth quarter, right? So we got that one. I had some talk about, or some questions, I think on Twitter, people were talking about, someone was mentioning HCDI. And by the way, if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, I made a new account. It's just at Thomas Carver. That's it. Check it out, because I'll just comment on some stuff throughout the day that I see. But, and if you have questions throughout the day, it's easier to probably just message me on Twitter or, at me on Twitter, whatever. So HCDI, $2. Okay, this could come down below $2. And I think it did in pre-market hours the other day. It did. It went to 190. It could come down, but I like it a lot. Why? They just did an offering. Let's go pull it up. Let's go pull it up on FinViz so we can see the numbers and see all this stuff a lot easier. They are now an 11 million float, so a low float stock. Their market cap is 28 million. Okay, $28 million market cap. They just priced, or they announced a $36 million offering. Okay, so they raised roughly $36 million roughly. This is a company that, if we go to their site, they own a lot of real estate in very hot markets. So you have some up here in Washington, you have some in California, but what's, to me at least, because I know the area better, at least it's where I live, this area right here near Austin, Texas, very hot area. Also, out by the lake, that's a very hot spot. Lake Travis, really nice area. If you guys have ever been, it's beautiful. Beautiful lake. But these are some very hot, Dripping Springs is an area that's up and coming as well. These are some hot areas, and they own a lot of real estate out there. And so this is the nature of their company. So this one is getting very interesting, as I don't want to say a long-term hold, but maybe even a longer-term swing that you want to look for a little bit more here. As people have forgotten about it because it's boring. It's not moving, and they just did an offering. They raised some capital. That's good for them. They can go out and acquire more things and acquire more land, more resources, whatever they want to do. But if you scroll down to the bottom, we have not much insider activity as of yet. We have a director here on the 15th of January buying at 3. See an insider buy at 3. But that said, this is one that under 2 I like a lot. So this is one that I'll be probably adding to it's on my list. And so as I have cash available, as I scale out of something else, I'll be looking at this one as a secondary. Or it's on my watch list, so I watch, pretty much every day, every week. I have a feel for it. If I see a pretty big pullback, if this thing falls, for example, today, or let's say tomorrow, this thing drops down to like 187 or 183, I'll grab some and just scalp back up for a move for, 10, 20 cents, whatever it is, 10, 15 cents. That's one of the things that I did for BBIG. It's just, I've been noticing as of late that I have found it easier to day trade on red days. And so I can't day trade on green days. On when my swings are green or when the market's super green, I find it that I will only make mistakes, or I make mistakes more often than not. And so I prefer to swing anyway as it is. I don't like day trading. Personally, that's just my style, my strategy, what works best for me. And, I think that there's a lot of mental stress that you kind of deal with when you're day trading and all that, which affects other things and then affects, a lot of stuff downstream. And I think there's a bigger picture there. So it depends on your style and how much time you have, just, stare at screens. But if I do that, then I waste time doing this. I can't do something else. And then it's like, okay, it throws everything off. So this is one that I watched this morning. I saw it. Let's look at this chart. I saw this thing. I didn't get a perfect entry. No, I did not, but I played it very nice. I saw it falling off in pre-market. It was down here under 5. The market opens, it falls to 477. I had 2 buy zones. I had a buy at 493, and then I had a buy at 483. Roughly got my average to 488, and then I sold it, all of it, at 523. So it ended up bouncing to 531. But why? It was on my watch list. It's been slowly bleeding out. Yes, I understand. Do I want to go long here? No, but I did go long for a day trade because once it was down to that level, it was down over 10% on the day. That triggers SSR, short sale restriction, which means you cannot short it. This day, you cannot short it into the bid. You must short on an uptick, and that also applies for tomorrow. So, why that's interesting is now BBIG dips down super hard. I was like, hey, it's going to be harder for shorts to bring this down, harder for panic sellers, or you have panic sellers probably already out. You're not going to get many shorts there at this point, shorting into a pullback this hard. Or, so I'm going to go long, and I played it for a bounce. So you can kind of see that you don't necessarily even have to have all these stocks right in your account swinging them. Sometimes it's better to have less to be more consolidated, but you can have them on a watch list and you can take advantage of stuff like this once you kind of know the history, once you kind of follow them. If I wasn't following BBIG, I wouldn't know it was down 10%. I wouldn't know it was short sell restricted. I wouldn't know, it fell under 5 and I could take advantage of that. Now, overall, the portfolio was down because of my swings. I have some leap options that were down. JetBlue got downgraded, so it is what it is. I bought some more of that today, but on red days, I find it easier personally to take a scalp here and there. And then what I think is also huge is people overlook this. Even if you have a red day, if you're someone who swings, if you have a red day or red week or red month or whatever it is, if you can stack these small wins on, little scalps here and there across the board while your overall strategy is still, or overall play is still intact. For example, my overall swings are still intact. We got months I'm looking at targets wise. It is what it is. This is going to add up small, but it's going to help add up at the end of the year to your account. If you didn't do this type of stuff, well, then, you don't have the opportunity to make a few extra bucks on red day, even though your account may be red overall. So I think it's something to note. It's something to be thinking about. And it's something to look forward to, at least on the red days, and see opportunity when you see some really oversold stocks. So we'll see. Okay, I'm going to go through a bunch more. Can't wait to see what SPY does tomorrow. If I had to say, I would say SPY goes up. But again, that's because of how strong it closed. Let's go look at futures. I'm going to go rapid fire through some of this. Investing.com futures. We're green right now. VIX is down. Small caps up nice. Over a half. Tech is up almost a half. Over a quarter on the Dow and S&P. So we're looking good. But again, we've seen this before. It looks really good until the market opens and it's down. Right? So who knows? What's your thoughts on mRNA, guys? I think mRNA is insane because look at this. I might even make a video at some point on it soon because I made 1 or 2 videos talking about saying this stock is unstoppable, and it was insane because we have this crazy run since the pandemic crash, and however many percent it was, it went up. This thing was up over like 2,000%, whatever the number was. We are like legitimately going to potentially fill this gap. Remember how we got to this point back in July, and I was like, hey guys, this is a gap right here. If we pull back, I wouldn't be surprised if we fill this gap. We actually may fill that gap, which sounds wild how we were almost at 500 and we may fill the gap. I was in it for a swing and then I cut it. I took some profits into this move and then I got back and then I cut the rest under this 415 as it fell below, and I just, I haven't touched it since. But it's been in a clear, downtrend. If it can't hold 300, which it didn't hold in after hours, it fell below 300. Tomorrow could be a full just flush day. If it flushes down into the 260 range, into the under 270, I would buy some. Maybe for a day trade or for something like that, or maybe for a small. I might buy like a small option position and hold it for a week or two, or maybe for an overnight balance or something back, and that's it. But if it gets down to this gap, I would imagine this is going to be an area of support if we get down to that level, which is wild to think that in just 2-3 weeks we can go from almost 500 to be cut in half pretty much, because this thing was up here 450 plus. If it gets into that gap, it's down 40+%, which is wild. So that's at least my take on it for now. I'm not touching it. I know a lot of people who like to trade it, every day because it's been offering some good volatility, long, short. But yeah, it's crazy. I never thought we'd actually see this happen, and it may sooner than we thought. OPGN just got FDA approved. Well, this is a nasty one. So again, why I always like to sell into news like that, right? If you have positive news, this thing had positive news. It popped up from sub 3 almost to 350. You had a nice little bounce. You had a nice move of 20+%. Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy. But it may have potentially been priced in over, since July as it pushed up and then pulled back, right? And now you must have had an offering or something, right? Let's see. Let's go back in here. OPGN. That doesn't seem very, very natural. Let's see. Business update. They announced cash position and revenue for third quarter. So maybe there's something in there too that I didn't see. Rockville Biotech lands federal broadcasting system. Oh, okay. Interesting. This thing came right back down. So maybe if it holds $2, that would be an interesting spot potentially for a pickup. But that's too volatile for me. Within 3 days, this thing was at 350. Now it's back down to 2. I want to see it kind of consolidate for a little bit. And then, this is a spiky stock. So, picking this thing up down at 2 or even under 2 could be a really good opportunity for a swing if you're willing to hold and have patience for a month or two, or you have eyes on further catalysts and whatnot. Skills shorted into oblivion. Yeah, wow. This thing I was like, hey, if it holds 10, looks good. This is coming down. I mean, a lot of these post SPACs too. I'm looking at look at Body. I liked it. I don't have it anymore. But look at Body, Beachbody. I thought Beachbody was a nice, interesting SPAC, and this thing is down to $5. I mean, they're just getting rocked. What's the other one? BFI, BurgerFi. I mean, look at this same thing. They're all getting destroyed. They're just getting hammered, and it's the question that I have, and it's not. This isn't something you can really find numbers and stats to back it up, but it's like, is this the final drawdown? To get the retail traders out so that they can run these things up into the end of the year and have a nice finish to the year. I think it's certainly, it's something that I'm very curious to see how this plays out, because we talked about it in a past video too. You mess with the big money, it's not just gonna, go away. The funds that lost tons of money, the insider trading accusations and this stuff, as much as that stuff is like, okay, this is ridiculous, and I understand why the retail traders have revolted and kind of fought back, as much as you want to try, it's so rigged. It's so, screwed up the way that this stuff has been running for decades. So we realistically don't have much say, at the end of the day. We can go ahead and buy our shares and have fun. We don't have much say. That said, CEI interests me a lot, okay? This bounced back up 30% in the after hours. It had an 8K filing saying that there's no reverse stock split imminent. The thing that's really interesting for CEI and what really gets me is two things. So this had a crazy run from 33 cents all the way up to whatever. And you guys know why I don't FOMO chase stuff, because this downside could happen at any point. And okay, it happened after it was up over 4, right? So I had opportunities to get in if I wanted to. I didn't. But this certainly could have easily happened here at 150 and cracked down to, back down into the sub 75. It could have done the same thing then, right? It's just that this made such a crazy run, and we started to think here as we got to the end of September into early October, well, really end of September, I was thinking to myself too, this is not just retail traders. There's no way it's just retail traders that are running this thing up. There's no way it's not just a pump from social media. No. And while I know there was a lot behind it, Twitter, StockTwits, YouTube, all this stuff, there was a lot behind it. Sure, there's almost no way that this volume that we saw was all retail traders. The question that I have is that a short report comes out this is now on the 5th. A short report comes out from Carousel Capital, who cares about them? Legit, I don't care. I don't think many people care. But that report comes out and the stock tanks over 50% in the intraday. That, to me, signals that it was that a lot of retail traders were in. That drop, that drawdown to me signals that's mostly retail, unless you're getting a lot of flipping of the switch of funds that are going short all of a sudden, or dumping their positions if they were in prior. Because the down 50% on the short report, I can understand 10, 25, 30%, but down 50% is a little bit wild to me. Hey, and you know what? The stock was up a lot. I can certainly see it. There's always a risk, but that's just very much, to me, panic selling irrational traders. That's what it sounds. That's what it just seems like. You must have had absolute panic across the board for that to happen. This is what it seems like. Or, you had, I guess, maybe you had a lot of shorts. I don't know. It got short sale restricted pretty fast. And next thing you know, the thing kept going down, which tells me that a lot of people are just market selling to get out. I don't know. So it's weird because it seemed like we had more than just retail buying volume on the way up, but then it seemed like the way it reacted on the way down, it seemed very retail reacted, right? Retail, it seemed like a retail reaction. I don't know. It's interesting. SV new SPAC. Making some new partnerships. Let's take a look. SV. Spring Valley. It's in here at sub 10. It seems this is an area down here in the 850 range. It's got support here potentially. It's one to look into. Scooped some 79-cent AIKI this morning, working out so far. AIKI did nice today, right? Yeah, and look at that. Nice. Hey, bottomed out play here, right? 70 down in the low 70s. We got some support. This thing was down in the 70s today. It's at the 50 SMA. It's tough to see. Let me see if I can zoom in. It's at the 50 SMA here. Blue line, bouncing off that 50 SMA. Let's see if it gets up to $1. $1 is going to be a strong resistance. But if it can get up there, this thing might have to run. I've played this stock in the past a lot. Actually, this is one of my 2020. Go back to April 2020. This was one of my, craziest winners back in April of 2020. I remember waking up one day and seeing it had news. Next thing I know, I sold most of my position because I was in here from in the 60s, I think. And I had sold most of my position here at $150 and then before $2. And it went to $250. I was like, oh, $275. Oh my God. This is nuts. I forget the news exactly that came out. It must have been virus related. It's up over 200% in a day. Wild. I could go for one of those. I have not had a news play like that since BCTX, which was 100%, essentially within seconds, or minutes, really, I would say. BCTX, I had people ask, do you like it now? Personally, yeah, I think they can be a $10 plus stock, sure. But for me, it just doesn't fit my style right now of where it's at. Maybe hold 7, maybe. But I was in back here. I was in BCTX back here when it was I was buying it sub 3. I remember buying it sub 3 on this day right here. My averages must have been 320-ish or something like that, maybe 315. But yeah, I remember waking up and this thing was like an insta, 100%, and it went up more. I botched the exit because I held it for a bigger move and we didn't get it. I wanted closer to 10 and I didn't sell up over 9, or I didn't sell up over 7 or 8. I sold in the 6s though. Most of my shares were off in the 6. It was like a 100% move, which is awesome. Probably, I think that's my biggest winner yet, just because as I've grown, the account size gets bigger, so my positions are bigger. So you get 100% news play on a bigger position. Yeah, it's going to be your biggest play. Although AIKI, I think, was probably my biggest news play ever in terms of percentage wise, what I woke up to on the position. But BCX, this is a great one too. Let's see. I'm going to scroll on through. Let's see. CHPT ready to pop. Government. Hey, you know what? These Blink and CHPT both fell below support levels. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of let's pull it down one more time and then let's run it back up. That's kind of the feel that I get. They're below support. So it's not great. It's not an ideal time to be, going long. Although if you have more of a fundamental and more of a longer term view on it, then yes, it is. On these dips are times to go long. If you're playing just chart wise, then maybe chart wise is telling you no. But Blink is actually holding up better. Blink is actually got some support here at 26. So Blink is holding support better because we have these crazy dips and it's holding for now. Could drop more. right? But Blink, I think, is a decent play. Could easily go back up to 35 to 40 potentially, which would be a really nice return on that. Accumulated full position in TGLT today came down. Let's see. Let's take a look at it. It's been on my list, actually. Yeah, I mean, this thing, it dipped down sub 30 cents. Let me zoom in. Sub 30 cents. Yeah, this is interesting. And also note something, too. Notice the volume here. Yeah, I mean, since September, the volume has been significantly increasing while it has been kind of selling off. So this is one to watch. I mean, if it's not, I mean, it's on my watch, it's on my phone. I'm going to write this down on the note card or on the notes just so that I have it. TLGT. I like this one. I've liked it before, and I think it has the makings for a micro penny runner. I liked it. I also got about a full in NVOS. Hey, I'm telling you, NVOS is going to be a patience play. It will go one day. It will spike one day. Today was a kind of it's super low volume though, super low. One day it's going to spike, and this spike to the 200 SMA, which is this orange line, I think is a reasonable target for me. Is a 50+% move. I think we can certainly see that. I don't think it's out of the question. And then we can even see, I think we can see up towards $3. I think it's a very reasonable target on NVOS on a spike. Super low float, super thin, no volume on this thing. It's just a patience play. Accumulate some under 2 and be patient. That's how I see it. And then NSPR, this is really interesting because NSPR is a super low float. They had a decent recovery, or at least it seems like it tried to bottom here today, but it's under 4. I've been buying. I've been, playing this one a couple times. I sold this thing up here on a spike up here. I rebought this thing back down. I played it up again. I sold some more. They had some patent news coming out. That patent news came out here. What was this? The 15th. And it popped it up to $5 from, sub 4. It went $1 in one day. Pretty substantial move. It's a super low float. On patent news, that wasn't big news, right? Patent news doesn't usually do that for a lot of stocks. This just shows you how thin it really is. So any positive news, this is a magnet to the 200 SMA, in my opinion, which would be a move towards $7, which would be almost a double from where it's at. I think it's a beautiful setup where we're at. Has that history, has that range. So, if it gets that news, you're going to see traders looking to the left, and they're going to go, whoa, yeah, this thing has got some range, and they're going to start putting out crazy price targets on Twitter. Everyone pumps it all up, and we get out. That's kind of how you do it. You get out. Or you lock in most of your gains, and you could ride some for fun, but at this point, you don't care. Let it do whatever it wants to do. If it wants to pull back, it wants to do an offering, you already locked in gains. Okay, whatever. But they're down. They are at a market cap of 30 mil. I believe they've got like 32 mil or something like that in cash, or maybe more, 36 mil, maybe even 42 mil. I forget. They got more cash than the market cap. So under 4 for me is a gold mine in my opinion, but you do you. I also have a target of a couple months, 3 months roughly on this thing. See how it goes to the end of the year, roughly what I'm looking at. However, I may have a target of the end of the year for some of these stocks, but if they spike before that, I'm getting out. If they spike over 25% at any time, I'm scaling most of that out, if not all of it. And I'll rebuy it lower if I want, right? If I still like it. VYGR. Let's see. Voyager. This is interesting. This is very interesting. Voyager. I remember this thing as what's one of those crypto platforms, right? And this has been getting destroyed. Oh my. Wow. I forget what's his name. Jeremy on Financial Education. Wasn't he a big Voyager bull, or is he? I wonder if he still is. I haven't watched any of his videos. I have no idea. But it had a really good day today, I guess, or this week. It's having a nice week, right? Or today. Yeah, it was up 56%. Wow. I don't like it now after the spike. Personally, this thing can come right back down to $3 or even lower. But I'll watch this one for sure. It was trading a lot higher. I know there's some, I don't know. That's wild. That just chart. It doesn't interest me now. It may have potentially interested me a couple days ago if I knew more about the background. If I knew, okay, this market cap is getting super low. This is the revenue, sales, cash. If I had all that background into it, maybe I would have liked it here as it fell below 3. But now I don't like it because it spiked over 50% in one day. This could be an easy kind of fader tomorrow. So personally, I'm staying away, but it doesn't mean it can't go further, for sure. Oh no, VYGR is they got the contract with Pfizer. No, sorry, it's not Voyager. Voyager is different. Voyager is This is Voyager Therapeutics. Okay, same Voyager. There's the Voyager, the crypto platform. They got a contract with Pfizer, but went down. It didn't go necessarily down. It popped. What happened right here was it popped up, and then it kind of consolidated all day. So if this thing holds over 350 into tomorrow, 350 is where it wouldn't drop below today. That's your line. If it falls under that, it can come back down, but that's an interesting spot. And it's kind of flagging. I mean, you kind of have on this thing, let's see, top end up here towards $4 and your bottom end towards 350. If it kind of holds 350 and goes 4+, it could squeeze out again. The longer these things hold up, the better they have, or the higher the chance that they squeeze further. Xcne is one of those, I think, as well. Not really. But this one is kind of one that should have died after its pop back on the 4th. And it never really did. Kind of putting in higher lows. And so if this thing gets over 34, it's probably going to make a big move. I would say maybe 35, 40 is not out of the question on this thing for a squeeze. So it's one to watch. But it's the same idea, I guess, with Voyager there, VYGR. If it holds up and it should have died. If it holds, it's probably going to squeeze out for at least another push. Whenever Zach Morris tweets and says manage your CEI positions or whatever it was, people took that as get the hell out. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you had a lot of irrational people who were just, dumping. UWMC trying to get into that buy area. Let's take a look. UWMC, United Wholesale Mortgage. Take a look at this guy. And, I thought that they were a pretty decent play, a SPAC play. They got a decent dividend, if I recall. 10 cents per share. It's coming down. Hey, I mean, sub $7 seems like a decent spot. If you like them, longer term, this could be a decent idea. It has dipped down to the low 6s. So you're getting down into a spot here where, it's bounced before. I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm thinking maybe, this is the type of chart where you're looking at downtrend, final flush, enter, and then it goes. The final flush is something I can maybe make a video on at some point. I mean, we saw with CEI. CEI, final flush. I mean, it's tough to see after what happened recently. But if we just try to zoom in, let me see if I can zoom in a little better. I'm getting an Amber Alert on my phone. I guess Texas is just, prone, I guess, more so to that, at least where I live now. Get those all the time. But CEI, okay, it's a little tough to see. But it was holding 45, roughly, and then it can't hold 45 anymore. Final flush for 1 week, it dropped from 45 to 33, which is a decent percentage, right, from where it was. If this thing final flush down 30%, run. So the accumulation zone was in that final flush. So if you're eyeing a stock that is kind of down, trending down, and it's getting down to a point where this is super oversold, they got catalyst, they got this, they got that. Look for that final flush where it's maybe not like a day, it could be a couple days. So Pixie's one I'm looking for the final flush. Pixie under $1 is that final flush, and then ads under 1 I think are money on Pixie for a nice little swing for the end of the year. Same thing with HCDI, final flush, and then this thing pulls under 2. Boom, there's your flush. Grab under 2, start accumulating something. I think it's worth a shot under $2 for a move to $3 or more on a spike, but it's a low float. I think it's tough in the moment when the sentiment's not there, because the sentiment, I'm telling you right now, the sentiment is not there. We're not getting consistent, follow through plays, momentum wise. We're not getting crazy 100% spikers. We're not. But that could change with one stock. It could change with one stock tomorrow morning that drops some news, or next week that drops news. It's fire news. It pops hard. It goes 100%. That sets the tone for the whole sector, for wherever that sector that's in. It sets the tone across the board. That said, we're talking Bitcoin. We're talking, mining plays. We're talking penny stocks. What follows along? If Bitcoin runs, crypto stocks, mining stocks run, and then where's the next logical place, sentiment? Where are people going to think next? NFTs. Because you have that tie, right? NFTs. So you have your TKAT. It popped a little bit today, but it's bottoming out. It's trying to hold up right here, roughly down under 7. TKAT, You have DLPN. DLPN. Dolphin. It had a decent day. 50 SMA. Look at that. Consolidate. Boom. It's pushing. Over this $14.50, $15 can get a nice move to 20s. I wouldn't be surprised. But what's kind of lagging behind? Who has ties? I think there's a deal. DLPN has a deal or ties with HOFV. Hall of Fame Resort and Entertainment. HOFV, beautiful risk reward. It's at 260. I think this is a beautiful play. It's at 260 right now. 250 is your support. Under that level, I'll get out. So I'm going to risk myself. What is that? From where it's at right now, risk myself about 5% max. Not even 4% from here. 4% for a move to 3 for the first target. So I'm going to risk 4%, targeting $3, at least 15. So it's a 3-to-1 in terms of reward to risk. And I think we would see more than that. But boom. So and these are some ideas to kind of keep in mind and start to understand when people start looking this way. If Bitcoin keeps pushing, they'll go to the miners, and then everyone's going to go, wait, guys, NFTs. And then everyone's going to go NFTs. And you'll see the cycle. So I would love to see into the end of the year that you want to see not just like a day or two, you want to see weeks kind of holding up for these cycles to really do well, for the big runners to really build. Because you can get a day or two, a pop or two, and then it could fall right back on down, and it's over. No one cares. The sentiment's not there. They're not going to be sympathy plays, and no one cares. But you need to kind of a sustained move. So Bitcoin holding up is kind of key for both of those sectors, I think. So let's see what Bitcoin does. If it holds up in the 50s now, I think we're going to see it. We can see all-time highs. Maybe this month, maybe into the end of the year at least. I think 100K by the end of the year. Should make a bet. I feel like we should make a bet. I should do something like that, where like if Bitcoin hits 100K by the end of the year, or if Bitcoin doesn't, I got to do this. I don't know. We'll see. I'll think of something like that. All right. Let's see. Cscw. This is the interesting one. And this is one that's been quiet, right? Ooh, wow. I wonder if that was an offering or some bad news. When they get quiet, it's a time to start thinking about them. So this is one that has had crazy moves. Even just in April, it had a crazy move. So this is one that this is coming down to a zone that it's bounced before, down under 50 cents. I kind of like it down here. I think it's one to throw on I'm going to put on the list. Cscw. I'm going to look deeper into that one, but it's definitely something worth watching. And the chart doesn't look terrible. We can look really quick. Let's see if we got anything going on the surface, and then I would recommend you dive deeper yourself. They create new updates, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here it is. They closed an offering. So they just did an offering. Okay, cool. Release exclusive online video by NBA superstar Shaquille O'Neal. Poised to launch. Okay, wait a second, guys. This is an NFT play. Poised to launch sports-related non-fungible token products. Okay, so they just did an offering. Let's take a look at this offering really quick. Let's go to offering closed notice. Let me just do that really quick. We're just live, just doing this right now. It's fun to see. Okay. Purchase price per unit was 68 cents. Now, offering price isn't a huge offering is higher than where it's at. Not necessarily, but it could help, right, if you're below. So offering was at 68 and we're now below that. Seems like it's a pretty good risk reward to me. NFTs, you just raised 28 mil. 21 mil. So you raised 21 million. What's your market cap? Your market cap here is 73. Okay. I want to look at their cap. They could certainly come down a lot more. But if NFTs heat up, this is one to watch. I'd have this on your radar. It's a post-offering play. You probably got a nice move back up to 75 cents, which would be a nice, 30% move plus. I kind of like it. Okay, there you go. Wrong Voider. Wrong Voider. Yeah. Let's see. BKSY. Let's go back through. Black Sky. This is a SPAC, right? I don't know anything about it. If it holds up around here, great. I just don't know anything about it. So the way that these SPACs have been going, I mean, unless it's going to stay hot and it's got some news to fire things up, it's probably coming down. It's probably going to come down sub 10 easily. And that's just the way that these have been going. Unless the sentiment shifts, unless we get something to change that, Maybe this is the one that changed that, but I don't know. I just don't know enough about it personally. So I wish I could have more. I wish I had more there, but there's too many. There's too many. Mara. So it's interesting because Bitcoin, right? When it was back at 53,000, Mara was here. This just shows you the sentiment, right? And really it just feels like that the speculative plays are just not there yet. Because Mara back when Bitcoin is at 53K was at over $40. It's under $40. So you would think Mara's potentially lagging here, has more room to go up. It could be a play, but it's got some resistance up here. 43 to 45, that's resistance. Let's look at Riot. Is Riot lagging, leading? No, Riot's lagging even more. Look at Riot. I mean, this thing is gross. It's gross. I mean, Mara looks like a much better setup. Riot is like, it's still going down. Bitcoin's pushing up and it's barely moving. It's just consolidating here. Something's weird. Either there's a big lag on Riot. I think there could be a lag here. If Bitcoin goes to all-time highs, you could be seeing a pretty big lag, and Riot could be one that has a lot more range. So if I was going to trade one of these, where am I going? I'm going Riot with a stop loss under like 24. Personally, that's how I'd see it. It just seems like it has more range, than Mara for right now. Although Mara on the breakout could go higher, sure, maybe. But Riot has a nice recovery to catch back on up, I think. Now, they're not the same stock, not the same company. I understand that, but just chart-wise. CHOPPY has some Yeah, I was noticing that too. Let's go back to this. They've had some good insider buys. If it holds 250, I like it. Look at this. Look, this is beautiful. They had an August 24th CEO bought some shares, and then again on the 14th of September. And he bought at 289 and 281. We're at 260. Okay? So just something to note. If you go back to the past president and CEO buys, he also bought at 338. He also bought at 245, which were above that. Let's see. He bought at 139. So it's interesting. You can see how he's kind of, he's got a decent amount of shares, 2 point something million. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good setup. I think the risk reward's there. So it's one that I have on the list. I got it. Okay. Could see SPY opening above 440 tomorrow. Let's see. As I'm going to wrap things up, I've been going for about an hour. Yeah, I mean, future's looking good. Small caps. Let's see. Let's see if we get a big move. I have a debit spread on IWM. I need IWM to close over 220 for my max profit. And hey, we were there. I mean, in the after hours, we were there. So if IWM closes up over 220 this week, we hit a max profit debit spread. And if you're interested and you don't know what that is, there should be a link down below in this video for the TC trading channel. One video per week there, strictly educational stuff. I covered debit spreads, how it works on Webull, and how I'm using them and whatnot, how to trade them a couple weeks ago. So that's that channel. Hopefully that's helpful stuff. That's the whole point of it. That's the intention behind it. Not that I'm not going to post that type of stuff here. I mean, I'll do what I want to do here on this channel, but that one is strictly one video per week, more educational based. So subscribe there, subscribe to Stock Trends. We also post, more technical analysis focused, video once per week there or once per day there, usually in the morning. If you're new here, subscribe here. I think we're going to have we're going to have a good next 3 months. We'll see. But I think we're going to have a good next 3 months. This channel, if you guys already can probably know, we don't have a Discord. There's no pay this. We don't do that stuff. We're just keeping it real, tossing ideas out and being real, because I show you guys my portfolio every Saturday. We talk about all that stuff, talk about struggles, the ups and the downs. Hopefully it's helpful, because there's a lot of stuff that I see on Twitter, especially. And Twitter is, I think, is put on a pedestal too much, with who you follow. And it seems like everybody makes $1 million a day. It seems like, right? Are they actually? Are they fake gains? I don't know. I would imagine there's a lot of people who are faking gains just to sell you something, to sell you their, Discord, to sell you their alerts, to sell you their whatever. But we don't do that, obviously, here. We show you the red. And it's the most important, right? Because how do you manage that stuff? How do you come back from that stuff? And how do you kind of work your way through that stuff? No, that's where the value's at. It's very easy to get all caught up in the green, but if you can protect yourself, and I think biggest thing that I've been able to do the past X number of months, while a lot of my swings have been very, very rocky waters for swings for small caps, is really what it's been. It's just been treading water, and it's been preserving capital. I just haven't lost. I've had some stupid plays. I've had some wins. I've had, some small wins, stacking them up, but I've had some stupid plays that I've kind of, learned from, but also like, it's stacking it up. And it's making sure we don't blow up the account for no reason. And I think CEI for a lot of people was a blow up moment potentially. And hopefully there's lessons to be learned. Doesn't mean that's the end of the day, because I blew up. I can't tell you. I lost everything. I had legitimately nothing. Go back 4 years. I had nothing. I lied. Savings gone. I had $4.70 in the checking account with massive student loans. And I was betting on sports. I had nothing. Legitimately nothing. And I just slowly kind of stacked it up. And there's no need to rush, because the nature of this game, you do 100% per year. You do 50% per year. You do 25%. Beat the market. Double the market. Give yourself X number of years. You're going to be in a really good place. Add on the knowledge. Add on the learning. Add on, improving your strategies. You're going to be looking really good. And it's not like, I know we all want to talk about, you can go ahead and go to listen to the long-term investing type channels. That's a different mindset. I have, I guess, more of a hybrid, where I have more of a swing trade approach. Not necessarily only day trades. I'll day trade here and there, but it's more of a swing approach, where we like to talk about swings, and we like to we're looking to beat the markets, and we're looking to probably, consistently, do 50, 100+% years, ideally in the portfolio. That's what I'm trying to do. And I know that if you do that, it's not going to take decades. It's going to take a decade to change your life, right? In that sense, even if you're starting from, I started my account with $300, less than $300. Added some money along the way as I had a job and whatever, but that's all it takes. It really don't have to, don't have to get caught up in seeing all the crazy profits, because some of it's, I'm telling you, some of it's fake. But also it's people who've been doing it probably for a lot longer, and who've already been through the ups and the downs, and who made a ton of money this past year, and now they got, ridiculous amounts of money that their profit P&L is going to look crazy, right? So as we speak, futures are pushing higher. So with that said, good night. Hopefully everyone is ready for tomorrow. And we'll see how this plays out. SPY looks strong. I think we can see a strong rebound day, but we'll see if this holds up. Thanks guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.